Doing a real quick grab and go video on cooking 5 pounds of ground beef. The reason I'm cooking so much is it's a grab and go. I'm making it so I can make quick spaghetti. I can separate them out by a pound or a pound and a half, and I can have some spaghetti. I can have some to be able to make just anything that I'm planning on making ground beef for. I have it readily available, and then I can just be able to cook it, or you can be able to cook it for your friends, family, and loved ones. So I have it on medium right now. So I have my ground beef. It's already thawed out, and it's 93%. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on in. Now I put it all in, and what I'm doing right now is just breaking it up. And you can be able to definitely cook it inside of a skillet. I only put it in here because I want it to have enough room, because a lot of times when I'm mixing, food spills out of it. Now if you have lower ground beef, like this one for example, because ground beef, I understand budgets and stuff like that, that you're not able to get the 93% or you get 80% or you want to even get 73%. You can do the same method, and the way you can make it a better grade ground beef is you can go ahead and drain the fat, and you can even rinse off the ground beef because we're not seasoning it yet, so you can get off a good amount of the fat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just breaking it up and kind of mixing it around. And again, you're not seasoning it. And I didn't put any oil in here because ground beef, a majority of the time, it creates its own oil. Even though this is 93%, it's still creating its own oil. And you can be able to make some grab and go burritos, which is something I'm planning on making. Like I was saying before, you can make spaghetti. Again, the options are so, you have a lot of them. So I'm just going to continue to break this up, and I'm going to stir it. Let it cook for a little bit, and you can even cover it so it can cook a little bit more. I think that's what I'm going to do. I've broken it up a good amount. I think what I'm going to do now is just cover it and let it cook for like 3 minutes. And I'm going to put the lid on. I have it in my pressure canner, but I'm not canning it or anything like that. I'm just going to put the lid on, but not all the way, because I want it to breathe a little bit, but I'm going to have it to cook, and then I'm going to break it up some more. I don't know if you can see over here, it's already starting to, you know, cook the stuff down below. The juices are already starting to form. See the juices. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cover it. I'm going to give it one good mix again real quick. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it, and I'm going to let it cook for 3 minutes, and then I'm going to check back in on it, okay? It's been about 3 minutes. I was not able to find my lid. I've been looking for it this whole time. I don't know where my lid is, but it's fine. I'm just going to break it up more. I'm just keeping you in on the progress. I'm going to go ahead and keep mixing it. Just going to keep mixing it up, and I'm going to break it up. Okay, it's been 2 minutes. What I'm going to do now, this is what it looks like. It's been 2 minutes. I'm going to break up the meat, and all you're doing is basically breaking up the meat. You're just getting it cooked. Just takes a little bit of patience. It's fine. My lighting isn't so good, but that's okay. And all you're doing is breaking up the meat, and I found my lid. Someone moved it, but they told me where it was, so that's a good thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it cook a little bit. All I'm doing is just moving it around, getting the stuff from the bottom, bringing it to the top, so that the stuff that is not cooked can be able to get to the bottom to get cooked. So I'm just breaking it up with my spatula. And then now what I'm going to do, I'm going to break it up a little bit more, and then now I'm going to put my lid on, and I'm going to let it cook for 3 minutes with my lid on. I'm not going to lock it or nothing like that. I'm just going to put my lid on and let it cook for 3 minutes so the moisture can kind of get the stuff on top as well. So we'll be back. Alright, taking the top off of it, and it's steaming pretty good. Now keep in mind you're going to have more liquid in here because you're leaving the liquid because you're covering it. But the only reason why you're covering is, again, you want to get the heat to go around all of the food. And instead of letting it cook for like 2 minutes, I had it covered for around 4 minutes. And again, I'm just pushing the stuff from the bottom, moving it to the top so that the stuff on top can be able to get cooked. And kind of breaking it down as well with the spatula. And again, you can do it in a skillet. or any type of pot that you like to use. I just wanted to use it because it's high up enough, and since, especially since I'm taping, I can do it sloppily, just, you know, flip it and without it spilling all over my oven. So I have it, and I'm gonna let it cook for a little bit more because I want to make sure it's all the way done. I've had it before where I've cooked it, and then after I've cooked it, I've drained it, and then it's still pink. So I don't want that. I want it all the way cooked. So I've already distributed, oh, I'm sorry about that. I've distributed it enough, and I've broken it down, so I'm gonna let it cook a little bit more in its juices for 3 more minutes. And then I'm gonna do 4 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and set up 4 minutes and just let it cook and have it covered. So we'll be back. Alright, so it's been 4 minutes, and you can see the juices are really in here. I'm gonna mix it around, doing the same thing I've been doing before. Can you tape for me so I can just do it like this? That'd be great. This side, my love. This side. And look at the lighting. That's perfect. You're in the light. I think you're in the light. Are you getting it? Okay. So I'm breaking it up and distributing it around. I'm making sure all the ground beef is definitely cooked. And that's why putting it on top definitely helps. Or not on top, but definitely putting on the lid helps, because it makes sure it infuses the air inside of it, and it helps cook the meat a little faster, which is great. And instead of just cooking 1 pound, I'm cooking 5 pounds. Alright, now I took the meat out of the pot and I went ahead and drained it. It's in a drainer right now. Now comes the part on what do you plan on doing with this ground beef. Are you planning on making spaghetti with it? Because we need to find out, because again, remember, this is a grab and go, so it's to save you time. Now for me, what I'm planning on doing with this meat is I'm planning on making nachos with it, as well as I'm planning on making burritos with it, and I'm debating if I want to be able to make spaghetti with it. Now if I'm planning on making spaghetti with it, that's a totally different seasoning than if I'm making burritos versus in tacos with it. So what I think I'm going to do is I can put aside 2 cups of ground beef, or about not 2 cups, I can put 1.5 cups of ground beef aside, unseasoned, and then whenever I decide to make it, the spaghetti, then I can be able to season it. If you're planning on making spaghetti, then you can be able to season it with oregano, salt, pepper, garlic, and just season it the way you'd like to season your ground beef. But again, everything depends on what exactly are you planning on making it. So since I'm planning on making ground beef with, or not ground beef, but mainly tacos and nachos with it, burritos and nachos, I'm going to go ahead and season it now so that it'll save me additional time as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in the pot, and I'm going to go ahead and season it. Remember, you can bag it up as is, put them in, bag it up on, again, it's grab and go, so it's the most convenient way for you. I was saying 1.5 cups. If it's less in the family, then you can be able to put maybe 1/2 cup in there. And you can be able to put it with some ragu cheese or whatever cheese you want to use, like if you're making nachos or whatnot. Remember, it's depending on who's your audience and how much you're planning on using. So you could put 1 cup in a bag. What I would recommend is put it inside of a Ziploc bag, and you can be able to then put it inside the freezer, and then when you're about to use it, you can take it out of the freezer the night before so it can thaw out. But if you decide at the last minute that you decide you're going to make something, you can just take it out of the freezer, take it out of the bag, and pop it inside of the microwave and put it on defrost. And then just defrost it, and just check on it and see when the meat starts crumbling out of the bag. And then you can be able to cook it. And then while you're cooking it, well, you're not really cooking it, you're just mainly heating it up. Then you can season it. Put all your seasoning into it, heat it up, put water in it, and it is ready to go. Now right now I have it on medium-high. It's already seasoning, or not seasoning, but you hear it sizzling. And then what I'm going to go ahead and put in, I have my seasoning here. Again, you can season as you want to, but basically season it on your family's taste. I don't put any salt in it because I'm trying to stay away from the salt, but if you wanted, you could put 1 teaspoon of salt inside of it. But what I have in here is 2 tablespoons of cumin. Ooh, I want a lot of cumin in it. And then I put 2 tablespoons of flour, of what is it called? Onion powder. and then 1 teaspoon of garlic. If you think that's too much, go ahead and cut back on it. That's totally fine. And I'm just mixing it up. Mixing it all together. And then the way I get it all together to mix, because it's kind of dry, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of liquid in it. And when I say a little bit of liquid, I'm going to put in 1/4 a cup of liquid, which is, you can put either water or stock. I'm going to go ahead and use water. Okay. After you have it mixed, go ahead and taste the ground beef. Because then at that point, you can decide if you'd like to add more garlic, or if you'd like to add more cumin, or if you think it needs a little more salt. Now for me, I put cheese, my specific reason what I'm making is, I'm making burritos and I'm making nachos out of it. So know what you're using with it, because then you can decide on how much salt you want to put in it. Me, I'm not adding the salt, and the main reason why is because for the burritos, I'm going to put cheese in it, which is already salty. And for the nachos, I'm going to be using probably ragu, or nachos that I buy from Sam's, which is already salty enough. So instead of doubling on the salt, I just use the salt that from the cheese. So I haven't put the water in yet. I'm going to go ahead and put the liquid in. I put 1/4 a cup, and I'm just mixing it up. It won't be as dry. And I think I'm going to put a little bit more water in so it can mix a little more. So I'll be right back to get some water. So it's good to measure. I measured out what I had poured in here, and it was basically, it wasn't 1/4 of a cup, it was about 1/2 a cup of water. And I have about another 1/2 a cup. So I'm going to put it in, because I like it more liquidy. But again, it's all on preference. So now it seems real incorporated. And the reason why I add a little bit more water mostly is because I saw some of it had caked up some of the onion seasoning. So now it's all very well incorporated. It's not as dry anymore. And I'm happy with it. So I used about a cup of liquid. You can use maybe a little less. Just put it in little by little. And just keep mixing and look at it. But that looks good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a bowl. I'm going to let it cool down. Once I let it cool down, I'm going to let it cool down for maybe around 30 minutes. And you can even, just so I can be able to touch it or whatnot, so it won't end up burning my bags. I'm going to then put it in Ziploc bags. I'm going to do it in 1.5 cups increments. And again, do it for who you're making it for. So put as much of an amount in that you're going to be using. So I'll be putting in about 1.5 cups of it in, and we'll be back. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the bowl and let it sit for around 30 minutes. Hi all. I apologize that it's a little bit loud. Actually, let me just cut it off. Okay. It's my dehydrator. Okay, what we're going to do now is go ahead and split it up. I've let it sit out for an hour. When I was looking up on the website, I was looking at different sites and stuff like that, and reading up different information, and basically what they say is that you're not supposed to let it sit out for more than 2 hours. So for me, what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on separating it by 1.5 cups. So I have 1 cup and then I have 1/2 cup. You could just use the 1 cup, but this is just what I prefer to do. So I'm going ahead and I'm setting it up so that later on during the week I can be able to make nachos real quickly, and I can be able to make burritos. I'm planning on making some grab-and-go burritos tonight, so we can be able to have them throughout the week. So put in 1.5. And I may end up changing my mind depending on what I see. I may end up changing it and make it all of it 2 cups. Let's see how it works out. So right now I can be able to make 4 different meals right here. So let me get out another bag. Do 1 cup and 1/2. And I think that's good for right now. I think I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I can make 2 cups worth of, no, I think a cup and a half is actually good enough. That's enough meat. I'm doing spaghetti. No, we're meat eaters in this family. So I'm going to go and upgrade them to make each bag 2 cups. And this is what I have left. So I basically was able to make 2, 4, 5. I was able to make 5 of them. So I'm just going to sprinkle it in. Let me see what I have left basically. I basically have a little bit more than half a cup. So I'm just going to sprinkle it all in because it's not enough so I can make my own bag. So it's a little bit more than 2 cups. But I have 5 bags. What I go ahead and do at this time is get the air out as much as I can. And you can definitely use a food saver bag and do it. But I'm using Ziploc bags because instead of, after I seal it like this, well I shouldn't say seal it, but after I close it, I then put it inside of a freezer bag. And I put it inside the freezer. And then what you want to do is put this inside the freezer. When you want to use it, if you know that you want to use it the next day, go ahead and take it out the refrigerator so it can defrost. And even if it's not totally defrosted, it'll crumble. When you put it inside the refrigerator and you go back to it the next day, it'll be crumbly and it'll be easy for you to be able to use. And use it for spaghetti. You can use it to make burritos, enchiladas, anything with ground beef. So I have 5 bags that are 2 and a little bit of ground beef. Let me go ahead and cut that off. Alright. So I have this nice and red that I have in the freezer. If you run out on time and you decided last minute that you want to use this and it's frozen, go ahead and pop it inside of the microwave. What I do recommend is take it, open it up, and kind of pry it out of the bag so that just in case, because these can melt, like if they get hot enough it can melt the bag and you don't want to eat plastic in your food that you've worked so hard to make for your family. Go ahead and take it out and then put it inside of a bowl that is microwavable and defrost it. And then defrost it for maybe 5 minutes. Just check on it. You just want it to get to where it's crumbly, and then you can be able to crumble it and then cook it and or basically heat it up and use it for whatever you're planning on using it for. So this is my grab and go on ground beef. And thank you for tuning in. And on behalf of your friends, family, and loved ones, thank you so much on behalf of them for using your valuable time to make such great food that we're able to put inside of our mouths and making it quick and easy. So instead of just going out to McDonald's or Burger King, we're actually eating at home, which saves our wallet money as well. So thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you and God bless.